Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome back to Wrist of Time. My name is Si, and welcome to A Wrist of Time Radio, Episode 2. Today, we're going to delve into the wonderful topic of Rolex authorized dealers. Now, a lot has been said, I'm sure, about these dealers on many of the large watch YouTuber websites. You know, if you want to go and listen to them, go for it. This is just my take on what I think is happening, or what I certainly assume is happening. My experience with them personally, on a personal level, and what I think is going to be the fallout of the case in Chicago, where we actually have an authorized dealer who is now being sued by a former employee for carrying out the practices that we kind of all know is happening. It's like the world's worst kept secret, isn't it? So for those that aren't in the know, or maybe you've just clicked on this video because you watch my other videos on the channel where I don't tend to deal with watches of Rolex's caliber. As I'm sure you know, I do have a Tudor, but I don't have any Rolexes myself. Not that I'd be able to buy any of the ones that I actually like, and I'll go into that more in a bit in a little minute. But essentially, you cannot buy a professional model Rolex in the store without previous history of buying Rolex, or at least Tudor, or at least something from that authorized dealer. Now, this is common knowledge across the watch world. People know this. Why? Well, of course, the reason is, you know, those professional models, particularly the steel sport models like the GMT, Submariner, the Daytona, the Explorers, the Milgauss, which is my favourite Rolex. But even now down to stuff like the steel Oyster Perpetual 41s, the steel Datejust 41s. These are all, you know, held in the safe, under lock and key, expecting you to go in and buy all and sundry before you actually even get to look at one of the purchases. So what is happening? Well, we know what's happening, don't we? Authorised dealers are offloading them to the grey market. You can go onto many a Hatton Garden website. That's Hatton Garden is in the UK, for those that may not know, is kind of famous for jewellery stores, or even on Chrono24, any of the big watch finding websites or watch trading websites. And you will find 2021 Submariners, you know, the new Kermit or Starbucks or whatever you want to call it, the 41mm Submariner, the green ceramic bezel. You'll find 2021 Daytonas, you'll find Sea Dwellers, you'll find Explorer 2s, the new Oyster Perpetual 41, which is the watch that I would like to buy from Rolex. And you will find these at vastly inflated prices, the Daytona being perhaps the worst, you know, something like 3 times the list price for a new Daytona. And, you know, these grey market dealers, they are not getting these watches from flippers, despite what you may have heard. For those that don't know, a flipper is a customer who buys the watch, knowingly buying it to then sell on, knowing that there is a large profit there. So if you buy, for example, the GMT, the Pepsi bezel GMT, that retails for about £7,500 here in the UK, maybe a bit more. But it will sell on the grey market for around 12,500, 13,000. So, you know, instantly that's £6,000 of profit. And I think realistically, what's happening is the authorised dealers are selling to their so-called preferred clients, i.e. the grey market salesman. Then they're splitting it down the middle. And this is what has happened in Chicago. And this is what the employer is claiming. Pardon me, the employee is claiming that the employer has carried out, you know, selling, although I believe in that case it was selling to a foreign market, which again is not allowed under the Rolex rules. You know, they set the rules of sale, and of course Rolex, although, I mean, I'll let you form your own opinions of whether they are deliberately withholding stock or not in order to generate this type of market. But let me tell you about my personal experience, again, as an amateur watch enthusiast or hobbyist. I own a Tudor, as you may have seen the review on my website. I also own various other Swiss watches. But I went in to a dealer. This was back when Of course, we're still in lockdown here in the UK, and Rolex, of course, are famous for you only are able to buy them in a store. You can't order them online, although you can now order a Tudor online, at least in the UK, to be delivered. So, maybe give it another year. Perhaps we'll see. We'll see that. I very much doubt it, though. I very much doubt it, because then how would the ADs allocate them to their preferred buyers? Well, they wouldn't, would they? But so I went to the authorised dealer where I purchased my Tudor, so I have a purchase history, and I asked about the green Oyster Perpetual 41. One of the most basic entry level Rolexes. Yes, it's sought after. I appreciate this, but it's not a Submariner, it's not a GMT, it's not a Daytona, blah blah blah, and essentially got laughed out of the store. Now, you know, that's not really the way I think to treat a customer who's willing to spend nearly £5,000 on a timepiece on your business. I was offered another Tudor, a Pepsi GMT, which is a watch that I have in mind, but I don't particularly want to spend nearly £3,000 on another Tudor just to have a chance at then having to spend 5,000 on the Rolex. It's not acceptable to me, and it shouldn't be acceptable to any of us, really. And I know a lot of you guys will agree with me that it isn't acceptable. And so what I think is going to happen now, particularly if the case wins, and I don't think it will, because in America money talks, and I imagine that the company will have much more lawyer clout, if that is a word, than the employee. I imagine it will be settled out of court. However, this has real implications because it's brought now to the mainstream what was kind of like the dirty little whisper or the dirty little secret that we all knew was going on. I mean, I've had discussions in ADs, other ADs, robust discussions with their staff, who will, in as many words, say, yes, that is the practice, and that is what goes on. The preferred customer, and I use that in inverted brackets, comes into the store, walks out with the steel sports model. Lo and behold, it ends up, in a second-hand market. 6 months later, maybe not even 6 months later, maybe 3 months later, maybe the next day, who knows? And off it goes with a huge chunk of profit. And what can you do? You can't stop this going on. The only thing that Rolex can do is either increase production, which I don't think they want to do, because I think they want to retain that exclusivity, and you don't blame them. They are a luxury brand. That's what luxury brands are there to do: retain exclusivity. Or they clamp down on, authorised dealers caught doing this practice. So, perhaps now this dealer will lose its ability to sell Rolex watches and Tudor watches. Who knows? But even so, that will only be one dealership out of many. And I know this is a global problem. This isn't just a USA or UK problem. This is a global problem of these Rolexes are difficult to obtain. Deliberately so, and they hold their prices well. And of course, if you've got one of these watches, you also kind of don't want this to happen, because if you've got a Submariner that's worth more than sticker price, you want to keep that Submariner at more than sticker price so you can sell it, or should you need to sell it for that profit. So I don't know how it's going to be solved. I don't know. I'm just an amateur watch hobbyist who's kind of stood watching in the window, all the big boys playing with their toys. My aspiration is to own a Rolex, but it puts off you wanting to put money into a company that has these practices. You start to look at Omega, Breitling instead, and I know a lot of people have done that. But sometimes you just want to scratch that itch. If you want the words Rolex on your wrist, you're going to have to play their games, or you're going to have to buy 3 Datejusts in gold and then hope that you get offered a steel sports. Of course, you could ferret around on the used market yourself and pay above sticker price, couldn't you? That's my take on the situation. I know you guys have all had dealings yourself. I know some of the really big watch YouTubers, I'm not going to mention their names, they know who they are, have had robust discussions. They've actually spoken to ADs as well. They've had interviews with them, pretty much confirming the practices that I've talked about in this video. So that's all I'm going to say for now, guys. Please feel free to leave a like and a comment. Let's get the discussion going. That's what this series is all about. It's just supposed to be a little bit of a chat. Um, so hope you enjoyed listening on your way home, and please stay tuned for more content. I'll see you all soon.